Joining us now, Stephen K. Bannon. Stephen Bannon, as you know, the senior strategist to the President of the United States. He was a chairman of the Trump campaign in 2016, engineered the victory. He's also the host of the hottest radio show in the world. Forget the U.S., the world, and that's War Room Pandemic, heard on the John Fredericks Radio Network, 10 to noon, Monday to Saturday, also in Hong Kong, and it's streamed all over the world. Australia, I get calls from Australia, New Zealand, you name it, people listening to it all over the world, and he is with us now. Steve Bannon, welcome.
Well, John, thank you, and I want to thank you because of the being co-producer on the show and our lead distributor. The Chinese Communist Party, as you know, for the last 7 days is on their national TV and all their national media outlets. Their papers have named me public enemy number one of the Chinese Communist Party. So I want to thank you for giving us the platform to do that. That we know that we're getting that we're connecting with the right people, since we've got the Chinese Communist Party at war with us now.
Steve, the truth will set you free, and that's what you're doing.
I just want to say the truth. That's why I think your show's so big, and the media all over the world. People are calling me now. Hey, do you know John Fredericks? Can you get me an interview with John Fredericks from Tokyo TV to all over the world? And the reason is you're a truth teller. I think that's why the White House listens to you when you do a pretty good assessment of these press briefings, which I agree with you. I think.
Steve, it's a clown show.
I don't think they're helping the president. I think he's got so much other stuff to do. He just Kayleigh's doing a great job.
They just need to stop. Look, we need to give advice here. Sometimes it's third party, but they're a complete and utter clown show. They are now diminishing the president's authority. It's all gotcha. Like, he had a great day yesterday with a lot of good things happening, and so what hits this cycle? He has some run-in, tit for tat with some Asian reporter who's there to do gotcha. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. They just need to stop. The purpose of the press conference is to give information and to advance yourself and your agenda. They give the information, he can tweet it out, and it doesn't do anything to help his agenda because it's all twisted 5 ways to Wednesday. It's stupid.
Well, I think that you've hit on the reason. Look, it's gotten to an antagonistic. I'm the guy that came up with the opposition party concept, which still is. For whatever reason, it's just purely antagonistic. I think Kayleigh's doing a great job. Ought to put Kayleigh out there, and not every day, every couple of days when you have something to talk about.
Right.
And then the president just leads with the actions. He's the bold action he's taken, and I agree with you. They had a good day yesterday, yet the whole thing gets twisted up in kind of this gotcha back and forth, and it's just not helpful. It doesn't drive his message further. The other thing I think they have to start focusing on is stop talking about the stock market and just talk about jobs. This is a jobs president. This is the manufacturing president. He knows how to build an economy. We had the lowest unemployment. The power of the economy beforehand to me wasn't the stock market, which I thought was terrific. But the stock market, remember, is the net present value of what people think future earnings are. And that was driven by his manufacturing policies, his industrial policy, which is really, hey, I'm a tariff country that are ripping us off. I'm rebuilding manufacturing and jobs. The key thing of his economy, it was a striver's economy. It had the first time that blue-collar workers on a percentage basis had greater growth in salary than white-collar workers. You had non-high school graduates. You had Hispanics, African-Americans, others really be coming into the economy and starting to have wages rise. That, to me, is our way out of here. I mean, the Sunday shows where everybody talking about the Great Depression and their shoulders are all sunk, it's like, bang, let's get on with the jobs. This is a jobs president. This guy knows how to create jobs, and that's what it's about, not with just unleash Donald Trump to just do jobs. That's what you're going to be talking about nonstop. If you do that, you're going to turn all this around, and I think get us through this, obviously, this horrific crisis.
Well, Steve Bannon, I wish you were there advising him, because he should be, instead of talking about jobs.
Listen, I got the best job. I got the best job in the world. I'm at war with the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, that's true.
Nothing could be better than this. So
I know, and I want to get to that in a second. But you're right. You're right, Steve, on the jobs. You're so right. Yeah, I mean, you're so spot on. He should be talking about jobs instead. Every day he's talking about how many tests they're doing. I mean, I get it. We need tests. I get it. Everybody wants tests. And after tests, they'll want COVID-19 tracers. And after that, they'll want something else. But he should be talking about jobs. I want to get to your position now with the CCP. You've now taken the position, based on your analysis. Now, I want our audience to grasp this, that it's Steve's position that the CCP knew about this. They knew about this virus, and they were culpable in releasing it to the West so that other economies could crash. Can you elaborate on that, Steve?
Yeah, let's reset this just for a second. I think one of the powers of the John Fredericks Radio Network, John, you help us produce this. The Saturday show we've been doing is specials for, I think, the last 4 weeks. And these are Chinese voices talking about what it's like to live in, whether it's Wuhan, whether it's under the boot of the Chinese Communist Party in China. And last week we had 4 individuals from mainland China telling what it's like to live in this police state every day. It has gotten a massive attention inside of China, and they're freaking out. And the reason is the Chinese Communist Party, not the Chinese people and not the nation of China, but the Chinese Communist Party, which controls the PLA, it controls the government of China, and it controls its own party apparatus, which is really the controlling element in China. That institution has been at war with the United States through information war, cyber war, economic war for a number of years. And I think we're just now understanding this. Regardless of whether this was part of a biological weapons program, regardless if it came out of the lab, regardless if it was an inadvertent leak of something that was man-made, in other words, this called gain-of-function experiments, regardless of all that, which there's a massive investigation going on right now. Tom Cotton's telling you about that, the intelligence agencies. We're going to get to the bottom of that. And I think directionally it is pointing towards something to do with the Wuhan lab and something to do with these experiments. But leave all that aside for a second. The Chinese Communist Party, we now know, knew about this in late December of 2019. They knew about this from a number of sources. And Xi took active control of this on about January 6th or 7th. But up until then, in that last week of December, from Christmas all the way up to the 5th or 6th, they knew about human-to-human transmission and community spread. And they knew they had a massive problem in Wuhan was about to explode. They came over here. It kept silent. Came over here and signed the treaty, right? Didn't let anybody know about it. Talked to no one in the White House about it. Okay. At the same time, they were planning on shutting down the entire country over their Chinese New Year, which is the biggest migration in history every year. 500 million people go back to their homeland in the country. It'd be like in the United States, everybody leaving New York and D.C. and Philadelphia and going back to Virginia, going to Roanoke, going to West Virginia to go home for the holidays, right? The New Year is their big celebration. Mm-hmm. They knew they were going to shut down the country, okay? Mm-hmm. They knew they were going to shut down Hubei, and they knew they were going to put Wuhan, which is 40% bigger than New York City, in a quarantine. They knew all this and had detailed plans to do it. At the same time, they allowed millions of Chinese who didn't know they had the disease to fly all over the world. At the same time, they went around to Europe, the United States, Brazil, and Australia and vacuumed up all the personal protective equipment, understanding that would be the key thing, the key element in stopping this pandemic in China. And also later on, as the world got infected, which they knew it would, that they could use it as leverage, which they used against the United States. And so this is premeditated. It's calculated. They're culpable for it. All of the death, all of the agony, all of the economic destruction is clearly directly tied to their activity. We know because a big analysis was done by Southampton University in the United Kingdom that said that 95% of all the deaths, all the illness, all the economic carnage could have been stopped if the first week of January they had just let the world know what the truth was. They had the World Health Organization as kind of their running dog. They put out a press release on the 12th, and then again they tweeted out on the 14th, basically when we were signing the document for the Phase 1 deal, that said there's no human-to-human transmission in China, that the World Health Organization had talked to Chinese officials. Now, what we can't do is allow the World Health Organization to take our eye off the crime here. The crime is with the Chinese Communist Party and the senior members of the Chinese Communist Party. And you're seeing actions now by Tom Cotton and others to strip them of their sovereign immunity, to seize their assets, and to start going to them for reparations for what they did. And it has to happen. The Chinese Communist Party is at war with their own people. They're at war with the United States. They're at war with mankind. They have to be held accountable. And this would... What upsets me is that we've turned on each other in this country, saying, hey, this governor, this mayor is either shutting down things too much or opening up things too quickly. They're either overcompensating for this or they're not doing enough. We're at each other's throats. The enemy is the Chinese Communist Party. That's who did this to America. They did it to the people in China. They never allowed Wuhan. They never gave Wuhan a heads up. All of the deaths there, and those deaths are in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. They have a city almost the size of Wuhan called Harbin up near the Russian border in Manchuria. That is now in lockdown and quarantine like Wuhan was, but they will not let the media near it. So these are bad actors. They're totally evil. They've destroyed their own people. They've destroyed their own country. They've broken their countrymen. And if you want to hear the stories of the Chinese people, just tune in every Saturday and go back to our podcast. We'll get them back up for you today, John. It is heart-rending to hear the story of these people, of how a totalitarian dictatorship have destroyed them, and now they've destroyed the world.
The people that you get out from the mainland, Steve, that call into your show, and of course I hear it every Saturday. How do they get away with doing that without getting, tracked down? Because the Chinese, they trace everything. How do they stay out of harm's way?
Our co-producing partner on this is Miles Groh, the whistleblower.
Yeah.
It's very sophisticated. It's a reason every day on the John Fredericks Radio Network, we take that show and actually subtitles it in Mandarin every day, blows it through the firewall to the VPNs, and then millions of people, tens of millions of people, watch the show every day because the feedback we get is just enormous. These guys are professionals at doing this, and people do this at huge risk to themselves. There's already people should know there's a number of whistleblowers already about what's going on in those labs, about what's going on in these other areas. That's all going to come out over the next weeks and months. But they have the Chinese people hate the Chinese Communist Party. Of 1.4 people, there's only 90 million communists. And of the 90 million communists, only really 1,000 matter. Mm-hmm. And of that, 12 families run the whole thing. The leader, Xi and Wang Qishan, the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party are among the wealthiest people in the world. This is one of the things we're arguing here in the United States. The reason I'm public enemy number one in China by the Chinese Communist Party is very simple. We're the first show of consistently to separate out the crimes of the Chinese Communist Party from the innocent victims of the Chinese people in the state of China. It's not the Chinese. We don't have a beef with the Chinese people. We have a beef. We have a problem, and we're at war. They're at war with us, with the Chinese Communist Party. That's where we have to keep the focus on, and they hate it. No one's ever done that before. Number two, I sit there and say, hey, guess what? These are the wealthiest guys in the world. We have to seize their assets, whether it's in Belgravia in West London or whether it's in Midtown Manhattan. These people have hundreds of billions of dollars they've stolen from the Chinese people who live like slaves. And what they've done, they've kept it for themselves. And essentially that wealth came from the American people, came from the people that the factories went to China. The Chinese Communist Party basically control it. They're in charge. This is pure evil. President Trump went out of his way to try to make a deal and try to work with them. And all they did was give him the back of their hand, lied to him consistently. And this just can't go on like this. The American people have never, ever, ever had an enemy that confronted them like this, and now it's mocking them and laughing in their face. They have to be confronted. If they're not confronted and taken down, the world's going to be a very different place.
Let me read a text here from a Democratic listener in Richmond, Rufus, who says, I've listened to almost every War Room pandemic program since March 13th. I believe Steve and his crew are 100% correct. People should listen to his nonpartisan reporting on this subject. Rufus, the Democrat in Richmond. So, Steve, you're reaching people. It doesn't matter what their persuasion is. You're reaching them.
I want to thank Rufus and thank Democrats. Look, there's no harder partisans than Jason Miller, Steve Bannon, Jack Maxey, and Raheem Kassam. However, we go out of our way. We had Bob Kuttner on yesterday, the progressive economist, talking about manufacturing jobs. We go out of our way to try to be even-handed. We had an Obama delegate to the 2012 Democratic Convention emailed us yesterday or tweeted to us. We read it on. He's listened to every show. They've listened to every show. And they said, this is where the truth is coming out about what we as Americans, not as Democrats or Republicans, but we as Americans have to confront. We have to face the fact the Chinese Communist Party has destroyed their own people and now have turned to try to destroy the Western world. And so it really gives us confidence that we're getting the message out to those Democrats that are open-minded enough to listen to this, although we're very partisan. But we try to present this information that we have to put our partisanship aside. We have to put the Republican and Democrat stuff aside. We have to put whether you're a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter, and you have to face this.
All right, got another text here I want to read you from Barry, caller in Weir's Cave, Virginia. He says, I listen to Steve's show every day. It's great analysis. Can you ask Steve if he thinks Dr. Fauci will be questioned about the NIH involvement with the lab in Wuhan when he testifies today in the Senate hearing?
Absolutely. This is what I love about doing the show and about your audience. They get it. That is the more sophisticated question than you heard on Morning Joe this morning. He should. It's a remember, the good news about having it at the Senate is that we control it, right? You know, the Republicans can actually control the panel. Those questions have to be asked. We're going to be coming up with a lot more analysis on that very topic of NIH's involvement in what are called gain-of-function experiments, what Fauci did, what Fauci... So remember, we attack Fauci every day, but it's not the traditional attack from the right that, he knows Hillary Clinton, he winks at Jonathan Karl, he knows Bill Gates. We go at him for he's not consistent enough in the advice he gives the president. The metrics move all over the place. We want Dr. Fauci to be more of a scientist, and that's what we're going to drill down now with Dr. Fauci, NIH, and other involvement in all these experiments throughout the world, and particularly what involvement they've had with the Chinese Communist Party, and particularly what they were doing with funding things around Wuhan with American taxpayer dollars. So that's a brilliant question. I hope it gets asked today. It should. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Fauci, look, people should understand, on the show today, it's going to be live at the same time of his testimony. At the same time, the president, this massive case in the Supreme Court about presidential power and presidential prerogatives is being argued. Today's a huge day during the show. Fauci is going to make a case, and I know this is particularly sensitive to you, John, who have kind of been, I think, the guy that's argued the other side of the case.
Yeah.
Is that Fauci is going to say, hey, if you open up and you haven't totally thought these things through, you're going to bring on potentially a bigger second wave. And I think that goes a little bit counter to what the president's been putting out. And what I don't understand is how, in the administration, his chief guy in this task force is coming out with really, it looks like, and we haven't heard the testimony. We've seen some things that have been leaked. But, it's like it's counter to what the president's been laying out. So I think it's a very big day. Fauci's testimony is going to be big. And I hope, like your caller said, that the Republicans start to ask him the tough questions here on what his involvement's been.
Well, they need to fire his ass because, the guy gets off on TV and pops off. Every time the president says something, he runs over to CNN and disputes what he says. This guy's a Hillary Clinton bureaucrat, been there forever. And when they talk about surges, I just keep asking for metrics. We were sold on shutting down the greatest economy in the history of the world and putting 35 million people out of work and destroying millions and millions of lives in small businesses to not overrun the hospital system. We have not done that. Not overrun the beds. We've not done that. Not overrun ventilators. We've not done that. Flatten the curve. We've done that. Now, Steve, my position is it's all politics now because we've done all that. And as long as they can keep this closed and they can destroy small businesses who are the bane of the DNC. They hate small businesses because small business owners are capitalists. They're entrepreneurs. The DNC can't control them. They don't want the government's money. They hate them. They want to destroy them. And then we can get to mail-in ballots like they did in California, and then they win, and then they have power. It defies all logic.
I agree with you. I agree with you on one important point here is that I think Fauci, I've said this for a while, he and Birx have to come out. They have to start putting out some models and metrics about what is success, what are the objectives. And this is one of the reasons I think the response sometimes hasn't been as laser focused. The other thing is I think that if Mnuchin and Jared are going to continue to talk about that the economy is going to be rocking in July, let's get the metrics out. What models are you looking at? Your audience, no matter what their job is, everybody's fairly sophisticated now looking at models, looking at financials. People know that this is how you plan, whether it's you have a lawn business or whether you're in the radio business or whatever you're in. Everybody understands I have to have some grasp on the future and how that mathematically lays out. I think it's incumbent on the administration more than ever. And this is my problem with Fauci. Fauci moves the goalpost every day. And I don't know what he tells the president behind closed doors. I don't know what he talks about on his task force. But to your point, when the president says something, Dr. Fauci's normally on CNN a couple hours later, exactly saying the exact opposite, or enough of difference that you say, well, how can this be consistent? I think that's my problem with him. I don't care that he knows Hillary Clinton. I don't care that he's Bill Gates, all that. Well, here's what I care about. What's the advice he's given the president? And is it consistent to a set of metrics that these plans that people putting in, that he's been right or he hasn't been right? To me, so far, he's been way off. And I think that that's a problem. And I think that accountability, obviously the voters are going to hold everybody accountable in November. They're going to hold the governors. They're going to hold people in the House and Senate. They're going to hold the administration. Because like I say, every day is November 3rd. And I think people are being weighed and measured right now. That's why I think consistency and constancy are things that the White House, when President Trump's made bold moves, great things have happened. And those bold moves have clearly been off, whether it's Navarro's report or this analysis that people did on the European shutdown. It led to the president taking bold action that helped the country and helped his presidency.
Well, Steve, you're exactly right. We need modeling and metrics because they say, you just said the president needs to be talking about jobs. You can't be talking about jobs if you don't let businesses open and people go back to work. There are no jobs. You've got Pelosi now talking about a $2,000 a month basic income. Remember, Andrew Yang was talking about this on the debates and people made fun of him. And now you've got the speaker doubling.
Andrew Yang got, 1% of the...
He got 1% of the vote.
Andrew Yang got a lot of publicity, but was really an afterthought when it came to votes. Hey, here's what Pelosi's going to lay out, and I've said this for a while. She's coming out this week or next week when they vote. It's going to be three-pronged. You're going to have universal basic income, you're going to have a single payer, and you're going to have Green New Deal. They're going to roll up the big trifecta and lay it out there and say, hey, we're here to help the American people, and Mitch McConnell and the Scrooges in the United States Senate are going to put people on the breadline. So, unfortunately, the politics here is going to start to get ramped up in the next couple of weeks, and we're just going to have to go through these things. I think Pelosi is going to look at this as an opportunity to jam in a massive program in this phase 4, and we're going to have to, people are going to have to deal with this.
Define that. Define what you mean by dealing with it.
Well, I think that here's the point: has PPP worked? I mean, you're the best judge of this. Has PPP worked? This is not a stimulus. This is just a bridge over a chasm until we start opening back up. Has PPP and these other ability to get money to workers, has it worked well enough that it can actually bridge the gap until businesses start opening up in June and July? It
can get businesses through, as we've said from the beginning, a lot of businesses, it can get them through the third week in May. But the other problem we have now is businesses that are trying to open in Atlanta can't find workers. I found the same thing in Tennessee. They can't find workers because they're making $25 an hour on unemployment. The workers want to stay home and get to $25 an hour, $1,000 a week until July 31st, and the businesses don't want to rat them out because they eventually want to get them back. So those are a couple of the dilemmas. But we can deal with the unemployment. We just got to open this economy up, Steve. Businesses got to get open. When I was in Tennessee, if you want any evidence that this whole thing is politics, you got 4 Democratic mayors in Tennessee: Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, and Knoxville. All 4 mayors shut their cities down. The Republican legislator and the governor opened up Tennessee. So you're open for business, except for those 4 cities that the mayors have the power to overrule. So I'm staying in Nashville. I want to go to dinner with a friend of mine. We have to sneak over the county line 4 miles away. We get 100 yards out of Davidson County. I go to dinner. There's 100 people there. I have to sneak back into Nashville. I mean, it's absurd what is going on. But that's the politics of it, Stephen. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, I think we're in for a very tough summer and fall. But hey, the American people are tough, and we're just going to have to pound through this.
All right, I can take off.
The one thing I think we can all hope for in coming through this, this dilemma is that hopefully we won't have to see too many more of John Fredericks workout videos tweeted out. So if we get past that, I think America can make it.